Hey, this is St.Matthew-Daniel from Make It Take It the podcast, mostly an NBA podcast, but I delve into superhero cinema every now and then. So here at LuZo Productions, trying to make it happen.
My name's Joseph. I am here from nothing in particular. I'm here to talk about Suicide Squad.
Expectations going into Suicide Squad. Well, this is a movie that was heavily promoted on Will Smith, Margot Robbie, and Jared Leto. So all the trailers and the footage, and Viola Davis as well. I was all expecting a character-based action movie, obviously a superhero movie that had a lot of fun, that was led by those four characters. Did it deliver on those expectations? Somewhat. There's some fun bits with those characters, but Jared Leto's character kind of got the short end of the stick. Let's leave it at that.
I was excited. I was really excited for it from the very beginning because A, it looked very different than Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman. Like those were very polished and took themselves very seriously, and this looked like a trashy good time, sort of dark, almost horror infused. In almost every regard, it delivered just about what I expected. What did we find worked in the movie? I think that's hard to say. I think the over-the-top action worked well. I think the craziness worked well. Some of the pop songs worked really well, I would say.
For me, what really worked well, it's more so just again, why I find this movie fun, even despite its flaws, is the characters. The main characters, at the very least, were fun to follow and invested in. I think, as of this point right now, the DC universe has more likable villains in Deadshot and Harley Quinn than they do
all of Marvel.
Then they do then they do the DC heroes right now.
And I think you're right. Margot Robbie and Will Smith, and even Captain Boomerang, as far as charisma and ability to like connect and elicit a response from the audience, people were way more engaged in those three characters than either Man of Steel or Batman vs. Superman in their entirety.
Favorite part of Suicide Squad? I'll have to say Will Smith's Deadshot one-man army top of the cop car. Kicking ass. I don't know if I can say ass on here, but I will. The
part that stuck with me that I remember the most was the scene with Harley Quinn and the Joker in their Lamborghini, the purple Lamborghini, as Batman was chasing them, and the
Shout out to Rick Ross.
Oh yeah, that was a sick song. Even though Skrillex is a little overplayed, that was still a sick song. Definitely recommended. And then they go off the cliff, and spoilers, the Joker just abandons Harley Quinn, even though she says she can't swim. Just totally abandons her. The Batman comes in to save her, and she still like goes at Batman. Then there's this sort of
very horror movie, like for a quick second there. A little face.
Yeah, right? Makes. Underwater?
Yeah.
I thought she was gonna like take down the bat. I thought that was gonna be awesome, but it ended up with this like pseudo. They kind of kissed a little bit.
Batman goes in for a little CPR, and Harley Quinn has other ideas. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
Favorite Suicide Squad member for me, Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn was fantastic, and I think she was to Harley Quinn, Margot Robbie was to Harley Quinn what Ledger was to the Joker, in the sense that she completely a definitive performance for that role, and her facial expressions to her lines, most of her lines before they got really cheesy in the third act, were fantastic. So I think she owned that role from the very start. It seemed like perfect casting, and it was. And she I heard she did a lot of her stunts, which really tells you to what level she went to really produce this role. And there were moments in there too where she seems human. That
didn't nail the character completely just because the narrative didn't really support it, and it couldn't really go fully into her relationship with the Joker. I was a little disappointed that, I mean, I liked the line, "I'm not going to kill you, I'm just going to hurt you really, really bad," and then he fries her. But I wish we had more time to spend with
that. Another cut. There was another scene that was cut down.
That could be really cool.
Yeah.
In better hands, narrative-wise and director-wise, and just studio not screwing everything up-wise, Margot Robbie could have really, really, really killed Harley Quinn in a legendary way. But as it was in this movie, given the circumstances, she was hands down the best character, I'd say.
The one guy who was not in this movie and should have been in this movie, and I wonder how much this movie changed as a result that he wasn't in this movie, was Tom Hardy, who was supposed to be playing Rick Flag, who Joel Kinnaman ended up playing, and was here and there. He had some lines that weren't delivered quite as prominently as Tom Hardy would have.
Yeah.
But even beyond that is that if Tom Hardy's in this movie, he's automatically second or third villain already, which the story probably has to change.
Yeah.
Just because you have Tom Hardy playing that character.
As far as getting the character right, the backstory right, and emotional depth and everything, I thought Slipknot really nailed it.
Least favorite moment. There are a lot of moments that were not really good in Suicide Squad. That problematic. I would say if I had to point out to one specific one, it has to be El Diablo in the final sequence, sort of saying, "I really lost one family," which up until that point was a good sort of backstory, made the character interesting. But
they went pretty far with it,
and that was just a highlight of a good 10 minutes of just terrible dialogue and terrible cheesy lines. From that to Will Smith looking at Enchantress saying, "You are evil." For some reason, that's the whole line. No punchline. It's just him saying you are evil. From Enchantress saying you don't have the balls to do it. Random. And Rick Flag going in for a hug after Deadshot fires off the kill shot.
I'm with you there. I think the whole ending with the terrible special effects, like two fire gods just punching it away. They're not even that big, so the scale of the special effects wasn't that great. And they're just punching at each other, and that's really the best that Hollywood can come up with as Enchantress sort of dances like this.
They did have to do it in 1 day or 2 days in a reshoot. So that was definitely a reshoot part of the movie, I think.
I think so. So dovetailing off that a little bit, when that was going on, I was laughing so hard. I had a blast watching that. Like, that was so bad it was funny to me. I was practically doubled over laughing. I think the moment where the movie went from decent, although kind of dumb, to just like over the top, just terrible, was when they walk in and they're all hiding behind pillars, and she just knows that they're there the whole time, and she starts giving them these visions of where they're happy. And they're talking to each other and they're going, "It's not real, you guys, it's not real." It's like, that's such an overplayed idea in movies, and this movie did it leagues worse than any movie I've ever seen.
If I may cheat, I know we asked about the worst part of this movie. I guess this technically came after the movie, but the mid-credit scene with Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne and Viola Davis, Amanda Waller, fans are laughing at this scene because of how preposterous it seems. Right. After the movie you've shown me, and all of a sudden it's Batman across the table, Bruce Wayne, say,
yeah,
all kind of like serious and like, "I can protect you," and it's just like, yikes, you know what I mean?
And when
like,
he says, "Shut it down," you're like, okay, yeah, just shut down the whole thing, the series.
That might be that legitimately might be where the DCEU, as they call it. What the heck is DCEU, by the way? DC Extended Universe. Get out of here with that extended. That might be where the DCEU ended. That might be it. R.I.P.
Yeah.
That scene.
And although this movie made a lot of money,
it did make money.
It blew Guardians of the Galaxy out of the water, if you believe that. I don't want to say the large cast worked well, because they had so many flashbacks, and not all the characters had a really good chance to shine. And some of them, like the samurai sword lady, were just literally thrown in. Mm-hmm. Katana just thrown in. Slipknot's a joke. I mean, Slipknot, they literally used it as a punchline for the movie.
Jared Leto's Joker. Jared Letdown is what some people are saying. Not
Jared
me.
Letdown.
I actually, again, if it were given a grade on Jared Leto's Joker, I would give it an incomplete. It's because this is a guy who we heard about the method acting he was doing. We heard about the crazy gifts he was giving the rest of the cast, and how Will Smith said, "I actually didn't meet Jared Leto on set. Like, that whole time it was a Joker. He was always in character." And the trailer also used him as one of the main players. He's second villain as far as the title card goes, because Will Smith, I believe Will Smith, Jared Leto, and then Margot Robbie, or maybe Robbie before him. And the movie comes out, and he has more screen time in the Purple Lamborghini video than he does in Suicide Squad.
Percentage-wise.
I mean, shout out to Rick Ross once again. What he was trying to do was something so different, he just didn't get the time to do it. And he wanted to have a basketball analogy into it. It's like, hey, LeBron, live up to Michael Jordan's expectations or his shadow, and you only give him 10 minutes of playing time a game. It's like, you got to see what he has going on. And in a few scenes of flashbacks that they let breathe a little, like the Margot Robbie or Harley Quinn origin sort of story where she dips into the chemicals, that was actually kind of fun. Like, that was him being, he had lines in there that seemed almost philosophical in a sense. Would you live for me? No, that's too easy. Would you die for me? And then the great line, which I keep repeating ever since, because that was one of the good lines he had, was, you know, desire becomes surrender, surrender becomes power. And that's interesting to me. And then he dives in, which is a really cool shot. That was fun. And if we just saw more of what he was doing there, I think would have come off quite a lot better. But he got screwed, man.
He did.
He's letting everyone know it. He got screwed.
He got totally screwed, and his big statement, whether he's actually a good actor or not, I don't know. He got an Oscar, so he must be good.
Hey, man. Stars Bias Club.
But he got completely screwed, and now he's saying, you know, they didn't show half my scenes. We worked really hard on these scenes to flesh out my character, etc. My take on the Joker is, A, they shouldn't have had him in there. He's coming off of two of the best, most iconic performances in cinema of the Joker, and he's expected to top those, because every Joker just magically manages to top the Joker before it. And he's Jared Leto, and he's coming off of an Oscar, and I think, I didn't know that much about Jared Leto before I got into this, but I think he's kind of a creepy, narcissistic guy.
He is. I mean,
I might be wrong, but from what I could tell,
he does have that vibe, yeah.
So to me, his character kind of bothered me. And again, I don't know if it's because his character didn't get fleshed out in the movie like it should have been or what. But to me, it seemed like every scene he was in, he was just writhing and trying to be as creepy and make as many facial expressions as possible to just pour creepiness on the scene. And it didn't seem like he had... I know this is not what the Joker necessarily is, but it didn't seem like he had a rooted character motivation, and like... if he did something, you would think, oh, that's what the Joker would do, or that's not what the Joker would do. It was hard to pin down a consistent character there. Yep. So instead of seeming like a certain character with a certain menace and certain motivations, he just seemed like a crazy weird guy. Yeah. And that Joker bothered me.
He doesn't have the time to give you other things to like about him. The truth about Ledger's Joker is that he was fun as hell, and people liked him, even though he was a villain. He was able to strike that line. And this Joker was definitely going for more gangster, scary. You don't know what's coming, like the scene where he shoots Common. Common is the only one who's in the movie as short as Slipknot, probably.
Yeah.
So it's...
that could have been a great scene, but I was like... why was I convinced at that point that the Joker would have been jealous enoff to have shot?
Not at all. It just seems random.
It just seems random, yeah.
That could have been another one of those scenes that were cut, and you know, because of the studio. So, yeah, I think Leto should be given a shot, some time to really bring this Joker to life. Because again, he says he shot enough for a whole Joker movie, and there are people who are suing or looking to sue Warner Brothers for false advertising, which again, the Comic-Con trailer, which is about a week or two before this movie was released, had a lot of scenes that were Joker focused and then not in the final product. Like, that's 2 weeks before your movie's out. You already know what your final movie is, and you're still promoting the scenes that are not in the movie.
Yeah, well, it's probably Warner Brothers' strategy going forward to panic, ruin a movie, then see what people think, and then panic again, and then come up with an ultimate edition. I
would give Suicide Squad 2 out of 5 Marvels.
So you're saying it was kind of fun, but not very, very good.
I'm saying overall, it was sort of like Thor: The Dark World type level of fun, which is not very good. That's why it's better than Batman v Superman.
I would give it 5 Sharknadoes out of 5 Sharknadoes.
And there you have it. This is TD from Make It Take It, the podcast.
This is Joseph Leiber from Joseph Leiber.
And this is the Suicide Squad LuZo Review.
Alright, I have a bunch of questions.
Why is Harley Quinn and Captain Boomerang on the team if they're fighting against mystical powers? Why was Batman and none of the superheroes in DC's world involved in this battle?
Why didn't if the Flash can be around there just for the sole purpose of capturing Captain Boomerang of all people, how come he can't just go in there and plant a bomb and then run away and then blow up the Enchantress and her brother?
Why did Katana follow the rest of the Suicide Squad into the bar, even if she was Rick Flag's bodyguard?
Why did Captain Boomerang come back? Because he just bounced, remember? He just comes back.
I actually know the answer to that question. You want to know why?
Tell me.
Boomerang.
Oh!
Comes right back. Why did Warner Brothers mess this movie so much?
I thought the question is too depressing for me to go.
Why
on
did they
further.
cut out? Why did they cut out a ton of Jared Leto scenes as a Joker?